Now, last but by no means least in this first round, Deputy Catherine.
Agus is dótha tá sé docreide is in áréire osréalaach a bheithan seo I mundí spódachta agus gá óráid ón tíiseach agus ó ceanra ina bháil gan tagart beag ná mór don géircéim atá ag tarlú Seordan idir an Gréig agus an Turc. Tá sé deacrar glacu lei sin ach I mo thuairim díríonn sé an spot tholas our mréig chráfacht agus an corrigéil atá siúl agan mar rialtas agus níl muineann agam go bhfuil muid an ar goch a núsáid mar iirlis síochána sa domhan a bhallairt atá I gceist agus tá muid ag tíomhú le lucht an rachmas agus an lámh láidir a imirt na daoine atá híos. Ní hé sin an cúlra atá agamsa agus is dótha ní hé sin an cúlra atá ag an tír seo agus chuann sé olcarum an corrigéil agus ar mréig chráfacht ó híomh na defach agus an bharna sin sna chóráidí inniu. Ceann comhairle, it's almost surreal to be standing here taking part in a debate about Europe and the future of Europe. We've no copy of his speech from the Taoiseach, but I listened carefully to his speech. I'm not sure why we're not getting copies. And he talks about the next step is a conference on the future of Europe, not a conference on the emergency existing on the border between Turkey and Greece. Thank you. But it is simply mind-boggling to be here and listen to his speech of the nature given to us today, and it brings into focus our complete hypocrisy as a country, and not the ordinary people of the country, but our complete hypocrisy in ostensibly using our voice as a tool for peace in the world when we're doing the opposite. And so we have a speech that doesn't refer to anything in relation to the situation in the borderland and the no man's land and the no woman's land, and certainly the no child's land that exists now, with tear gas and guns and violence. And that debate, when it is mentioned, and not today, has been reduced to Turkey shoving out the people and Greece refusing to take them in. And no context whatsoever as to why that might have arisen. Agus dasgur sé as marga lofa a rinne gávíle sa sééig idir an Europe agus an Turk. Marga atá lofa a machas a ma. Agus rinne an Europe írocht olmhór éú as a cuid dúlgis. Agus agad a chuir fáil don Turk chun an job a dhéanamh seachas dul le leis an dúshlán. And so the crisis has arisen from the utter failure of Europe to deal in a positive way with the challenge facing it in 2015, when over 1 million people fled to Europe for various reasons. And rather than dealing with that, they made a rotten deal with Turkey. And they sought to buy their way out of their obligations. And we're now in a situation where Greece is refusing to comply with its international obligations in relation to taking in refugees. And in a sense, I understand them. I certainly don't condone their failure to comply with international legislation. But surely, to the ministers that are here, you might address that. And you might address the failure of the Taoiseach to address it, where a member of the European Union is blatantly refusing to comply with its obligations under the refugee legislation. And it's not the only country. We've had the unprecedented situation where Irish judges, or at least representatives of them, have gone to Poland to march in solidarity, such where there's their concern for the lack of respect shown to the democratic process in Poland. And I can mention many other countries, including Hungary, Italy. You'd imagine that would be the subject of a debate today and highlight what's happening here. We're letting the far right take over. We have created a vacuum in Europe. And instead of dealing with that vacuum, we have an empty orage from the Taoiseach, where he talks about a conference on the future of Europe and protecting values and interest. The only thing we're protecting here is Fortress Europe. really, if we can't have a sense of outrage and upset about what's happening in our names, and that's the part I object to, it's not in my name, but you're doing it in our names. Our failure to speak out and say it's not acceptable. The deal was rotten. You know that, Minister Coveney. You are fully aware of that deal, that it was utterly rotten from the start, and we were trying to buy our way out of our obligations. And any organisation worth their salt on the ground told us that. And they said, this is not going to work, and it hasn't worked. And there was a crisis well before this crisis when Turkey purported to open its gates to let the refugees and the asylum seekers and the migrants out. The crisis was on the ground in Greece that was left to deal with extraordinary numbers of people on the ground in situations that were just not acceptable. And Europe, how many did we take in, Minister? You'd imagine the Taoiseach would have told us that today. A cap was put on of 72,000 under that deal. And even that ridiculous cap we failed to meet. And we took in 27,000 Syrians from Turkey in 4 years, well below the cap. And also it's significant that the countries that stood up and took in those refugees, Germany, the Netherlands, France and Finland. And I say all of this in a context of figures that are so damning, it's difficult to say them. In 6 years, between 2014 and 2019, and these are only some of the figures, 19,140 people are missing or drowned in the Mediterranean Sea. Holidays to the Mediterranean take on a new meaning when you look at that amount of people drowned or missing. 9,140 by the figures I got. I could be wrong. I suspect they're higher. And you would imagine that when we entered into that deal, part of it would have been to monitor the deal and follow up on it year on year to see where we comply with our obligations, bad and all as the market was. But we didn't even do that. And we wait till there's a humanitarian crisis, and then we send over an unelected president to show solidarity, as has been pointed out by one of the TDs in the Green Party, to show solidarity with Greece, but not to show solidarity with the people on the ground. And to praise Greece for being a shield and for being our protection from the influx of these people who are seeking protection under the international law, under which we have the most serious obligations. And do we show solidarity? Do we show any attempt to analyse, or do we use our voice to even question? Small voice that it is. Do we use it to question how could have this happened? And how could the ambassador for Turkey be on Morning Ireland this morning and utterly dispute the amount of money that Europe has given? Surely it would be simple enough to confirm, given the size of the EU and the number of auditors that we have there, and given their attention to detail when it comes to transgression of EU law, that we might have the details written down in paper as to how much money was actually given and why there was a delay on it. I'm ashamed, and I say that reluctantly, to be here as part of this Dáil while men, women and children are in a no man's land and certainly a no family land, and it's all been done in our name. All for 6 billion given to Turkey, which should never have happened. And in fairness to Turkey, the figures are astronomical as to the number they have taken in. I don't know how they've managed that, and I actually don't know how Greece has either. And what have we done, ministers, in return? Perhaps you might give us the figures today of the 4,000. Listen to that figure, 4,000 that we promised to take in many years ago. How many have we actually taken in? That would be helpful if we had a written speech or a copy of it from the Taoiseach, and if that was outlined for us, and the difficulties. None of it. It's utterly unacceptable. Ní féidir glacu leis. Ní féidir lenach de raim mar seo. Seo Dáil nua, le teachtaí Dáil nua, agus tá gá le oscailtocht, agus tá gá le tréhearcacht, agus in áiríre tá gá le bheith mar gcuine déine, agus ceistena a chur ar son, gur míle mágad.